Welcome to the show, Caitlin Clark. Caitlin, did you ever
What's
think
up,
you'd
guys?
be back? Cheers.
Excited to be back.
Cheers.
Don't worry. I got this nice throwback theater.
Caitlin Clark just dropped a bombshell that nobody saw coming. In a raw, unfiltered Zoom interview with WNBA legends Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi, she finally addressed the rumors, the controversies, and the people who tried to tear her down before she even got started. And what she revealed,
What will the league have in store for them when they get there?
Look, SVP.
Oh, yeah.
Reality is coming.
Okay.
There's levels to this thing, and that's just life. We all
taking the entire basketball world to its core right now. From calling out false narratives about a toxic locker room to confronting the legend who once warned her that reality was about to hit hard, Caitlin didn't hold back. This wasn't some polished PR moment. This was real. This was raw. And by the end of it, you'll understand.
we all went through it.
Of course.
And you see it on the NBA side, and you're going to see it on this side, where, you look superhuman playing against 18-year-olds, but you're going to come with some grown women that have been playing professional basketball.
Exactly why everyone's talking about what she said. But here's the thing. The most shocking part isn't even what you think. Stay with me, because this story goes deeper than anyone expected. So let's rewind for a second. This all started with a Zoom call that wasn't supposed to be this revealing. Caitlin Clark sat down with Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi.
That's on your retirement, Z.
Thank you.
And congrats.
Now-
to you.
Unfortunately,
Two of the greatest to ever do it. And what was supposed to be a friendly conversation between legends quickly turned into something much more intense. Caitlin opened up about everything. Her journey into the WNBA, the locker room drama that tabloids tried to spin into chaos, the brutal NCAA tournament battles that tested every ounce of her skill.
now.
What's your big plans?
in early.
What are you going to do?
I keep telling Sue I thought I was going to have all this time to do all these things. I'm more busy now. So if I give you any advice, play as long as possible.
We'll see. We'll get to 10 years. Then we'll think about it.
It's a 10.
And she did it all with that signature Caitlin Clark charm. Part humor, part fire, all confidence. What she revealed has people buzzing, dissecting every word, every pause, every smirk. Because buried in this interview are answers to questions fans have been asking for months. And some of those answers, they're going to surprise you. Now, if you remember, about a year ago, Diana Taurasi made headlines when she looked.
What was it like for you two to play against each other?
It was amazing. I've been following Caitlin for so long and been watching her college career just in awe. And to be on the court and, the first game was in Phoenix, and it felt like the last game that was ever going to be played. There was such anticipation. The crowd was
Straight into a camera and delivered what felt like a warning shot aimed directly at rookies like Caitlin Clark. Diana said, and I quote, "Reality is coming." She talked about how these young players look superhuman dominating college competition, but once they step into the W, they're going to be facing grown women who've been playing professional basketball for years. It was a message that spread like wildfire. People debated it. Some thought it was disrespectful. Others called it real talk. But either way, Diana's words hung over.
The crowd was going crazy. All the people that came out to see Caitlin and our teams play against each other, it really was an amazing moment. And you talked about how, if you could play against anyone that is this new generation. So I got to cross paths with Caitlin, at least for a couple games. And to me, that meant a lot, Like, we've been doing this for a long time, and to see Caitlin do what she does is, I think someone said the other day, I'm like, I want the season to start so I can watch.
Caitlin's rookie season like a storm cloud. Every game, every stumble, every struggle, people kept pointing back to that moment. See, Diana was right. But here's where it gets interesting. Fast forward to this year, and Diana Taurasi completely walked those statements back. And when Caitlin was reminded of it during this interview, her reaction said everything. She gave this confident smile, added a little smirk, and offered the most subtle nod you've ever seen. It was electric. It was funny. It was lighthearted on the surface. But underneath, that was a statement.
To play against D.
Well, I was saying, that game in Phoenix, because we only played in Phoenix one time. And it was before Olympic break. Obviously, we had All-Star there too, but it was a great game. Honestly, I'm pretty sure we were down 10 or 15 and came all the way back and won. That was our first win versus a team that was above 500. So thank you. I appreciate that.
A statement that said, "I heard what you said, I proved you wrong, and we both know it." No words needed. Just pure, unfiltered confidence. But let's dig into what Diana actually said during this interview, because it adds so much context to that moment. Diana admitted that playing against Caitlin Clark wasn't just another game for her. It was about something bigger. It was about generational change. She opened up about their first matchup in Phoenix, and the way she described it was almost poetic. Diana said it felt like the last game that would ever be played. The crowd was absolutely electrifying. The energy in that arena was unlike anything she'd experienced in a long time. And for Diana, this wasn't just basketball. This was watching a torch being passed in real time. She talked about how bizarre it felt to finally step onto the court against athletes she'd spent years watching dominate in college. Think about that for a second. Diana Taurasi, one of the most decorated players in basketball history, feeling the weight of that moment, feeling the shift. That's how monumental Caitlin's arrival into the league has been. And Caitlin, she remembers that Phoenix game differently, but with the same intensity. For her, it was deeply personal. She talked about how her team was down by 10, maybe 15 points, and somehow they clawed their way back and won. That comeback wasn't just another W on the stat sheet. It was a turning point. Facing a legend like Diana Taurasi and actually winning, that does something to your confidence. It changes the way you see yourself. Caitlin admitted she felt that shift. She knew what it meant. And when she and Diana laughed about it during this interview, you could see the mutual respect radiating through the screen. This wasn't just two competitors reminiscing. This was basketball's past acknowledging its future. This was the old guard recognizing that the game is in good hands. Even though they're at completely different stages of their careers, both of them are leaving a timeless impact. And watching them grin and joke about it all, that was more than just fun banter. That was an amazing blend of where the game has been and where it's going. Now, let's talk about what's next for Caitlin, because this is where things get really exciting. Heading into the upcoming WNBA season, she's not just coming in with momentum. She's coming in with serious firepower. Caitlin couldn't hide her excitement when she started talking about the updated Indiana Fever roster. She rattled off names like she was assembling the Avengers. Sophie Cunningham, defensive powerhouses like Sydney Colson and Brianna Turner, a new head coach in Stephanie White, seasoned veterans like Natasha Howard and Lexi Hull. Caitlin knows exactly what each of these players brings to the table, and more importantly, she knows what they mean for her game. But she's also realistic about the challenge ahead. 7 new players. Not much time to build chemistry. Training camp starts at the end of April, and they've got back-to-back preseason games in early May. That's a short window to figure it all out. But here's the thing, Caitlin's already in figure-it-out mode. She's embracing the challenge. She's not intimidated by it. If anything, she sounds energized. And speaking of energy, let's talk about that viral photo that had the internet losing its mind. You know the one. The off-season picture where Caitlin's arms looked, well, let's just say abnormally jacked. People were joking that it had to be AI, that the camera angle was playing tricks. But Caitlin just laughed it off and admitted the truth. She's been spending a ton of time in the weight room. Not just to look strong, but to actually feel more powerful on the court. She's putting in the work to take her game to the next level. And she didn't just leave it at that. Caitlin got specific about what she's been working on. She wants to own the mid-range shot. She's focused on finishing strong through contact. She's adding a floater to her arsenal. These aren't just random drills. This is a player who knows exactly where her weaknesses are and is attacking them head-on. She even said something that really stood out. She said, "I kind of enjoy it." Enjoy what? The grind, the leadership responsibilities, the intense physical prep that comes with having a roster full of stars. That's the mindset of someone who's not just trying to maintain. Caitlin Clark is training to take over. And here's what's crazy. She's only in her second year. For someone so young in their pro career to have that kind of self-awareness, that's rare. Caitlin's already carrying herself like a seasoned veteran. She knows the standards are sky high, and she's not backing down. She's meeting them head-on with a confidence that honestly feels unshakable. But with all that confidence comes scrutiny, and that's where things get messy. Let's address the elephant in the room. The locker room drama. If you've been following the WNBA at all, you probably heard Cheryl Swoopes make some pretty bold claims about the Indiana Fever. She said the locker room was poisonous, that players didn't want to be there, that there was division and toxicity brewing behind the scenes. Those comments spread fast, and suddenly everyone was questioning whether Caitlin's rookie season was being derailed by internal conflict. But here's the thing, Caitlin finally addressed it directly in this interview. And she didn't sugarcoat it. She basically confirmed what a lot of people already suspected. Swoop's statements. Not true. Caitlin said it herself. The team was tight. They had fun together. Sure, they lost their first 8 games, but they wouldn't have turned things around if the locker room was falling apart. She said the bond they built was the reason they figured it out. The reason they started winning. And honestly, hearing her shut down those rumors with such clarity, that was powerful. Because in the age of hot takes and clickbait headlines, sometimes the truth gets buried. But Caitlin made sure to set the record straight. The Fever locker room wasn't toxic. It was the complete opposite. Now let's shift gears and talk about Caitlin's college days, because this part of the interview was fascinating. She got asked about facing UConn and legendary coach Gino Auriemma, and you could hear the respect and frustration in her voice. Caitlin remembers every single second of those battles. She faced UConn 3 times in the NCAA tournament, Sweet 16, Final Four. Each time was a brutal test, and each time Gino had his team ready. Caitlin talked about how Gino consistently had the absolute best scouts working against her. His basketball IQ was on full display. She mentioned how some games she'd walk into the gym and see the scouting report, and it was just like, come on, really? You're going under ball screens? You're in drop coverage. But Gino made it difficult. He threw different defenders at her. He had answers in his back pocket. He turned every game into a chess match. And Caitlin admitted that Nika Mull, who guarded her last year, was probably one of the best defenders she's ever faced. Just relentless, up in your grill, picking you up 94 feet. Gino's strategy was never to make things simple. He always had something unexpected up his sleeve. And for Caitlin, those battles forged her into the player she is today. But it wasn't just about the program. Caitlin also gave major props to the players, especially Paige Bueckers. And this is where her tone completely shifted. Pure appreciation, pure respect. When asked about what Paige will bring to the WNBA, Caitlin didn't hesitate. She said Paige's poise is something you absolutely need when you get into the league. Everything hits you so fast. New city, new teammates, new coach, sky-high expectations. And Paige has this calm, mature demeanor that nothing seems to shake. Caitlin also praised Paige's mid-range game, calling it one of the best she's ever seen. She said Paige can score at all 3 levels, and coming from someone who's dominated at every level herself, that praise carries serious weight. But Caitlin didn't stop there. She also talked about Paige's adaptability, how she can play off the ball or run the point, and the way Caitlin talked about it, you could tell she's excited to see what Paige does in the W. Seeing them both on the court at the next level, that's going to be must-watch basketball. So what does all of this mean? What's the bigger picture here? This interview wasn't just Caitlin Clark answering questions. It was her taking control of her narrative. For months, people have tried to define her. Critics said she wouldn't last in the WNBA. Doubters questioned whether she could handle the physicality. Tabloids tried to create drama where there wasn't any. But Caitlin just proved that she's not fazed by any of it. She's focused. She's prepared. She's confident. And most importantly, she's real. This conversation with Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi showed a side of Caitlin that fans don't always get to see. The vulnerability, the humor, the deep respect she has for the game and the people who paved the way. But it also showed her fire, her refusal to let anyone else write her story. Whether it was addressing Diana's old comments, shutting down locker room rumors, or giving credit to the competitors who made her better, Caitlin handled it all with grace and strength. And that's what makes her special. That's why the basketball world can't stop talking about this interview. Because Caitlin Clark isn't just the future of the WNBA. She's proof that the future is already here. And it's brighter than anyone imagined.